Hi friends, it's Karina. Last year during Pride Month, I spoke at the beginning of our videos to remind us all of the positive strides the LGBTQ+ community has made in regards to our rights and freedoms, and as much as I would love to do that again this June, I feel I am unable to. Because this year, in 2022, queer and trans folks, particularly young people, are very quickly seeing their governments create and pass legislation that limits or flat out denies their access to gender-affirming and life-saving education, healthcare, and safety. We cannot pretend that these changes aren't happening, and we especially cannot sit back and allow this to continue. As always, we will have resources in our description, but I highly encourage everyone to look into support systems and ways to stay informed in your own area. Pay attention to those who are running for office, because voting in homophobic and transphobic public officials threatens the well-being of queer folks young and old. As always, Kind of Friends is a safe space for all LGBTQ+ people, but now more than ever, I want to tell everyone listening that your voice and your life matters. We will get through this together. The old saying goes, we are here, we are queer, and we are not going anywhere. Thank you for listening. We love you.
Tea is hot, and so are you. So grab a seat and let's review.
Hi, Rogue.
Hey, Zax.
Hi, Karina.
Hey Zach, say Rogue.
Hey, Karina.
Today, we're continuing Pride Month, and this year we're going to talk about bisexuality.
Yay.
Which, if you've watched this channel for any bit of time, you've probably picked up that we find basically everybody attractive.
Yeah. You're probably like, something about this group of gals is a little fruity.
It's a very queer group of friends, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of on the friend part, not on the queer part.
Kind of gay.
Very queer, kind of friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go around the room. How do y'all identify?
I am bisexual.
If you remember our special highlight video from last year, I identify as demisexual.
Okay. And I am pan, bi. I use them interchangeably, which is something we're going to talk about. I think, I think I more lean on pan because I feel like, well, based on this one conversation I had with a 19-year-old, I was like, is bisexuality getting painted with this kind of like turfy brush or something? Basically, it's not, but I just was worried.
Short answer, it's not.
It's
That
not.
it might be.
I don't want someone to be like, being bi is turfy, and then they leave the video.
Yeah.
That is not the takeaway.
There's the title.
Is it?
Spoiler alert, bisexuality has always included trans folks, so
Yeah.
if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, tell them to read up on queer theory, please.
Okay, so I'm just going to say what. So this girl, we were talking, I don't even remember how we got on this, but she was like, oh yeah, I'm bi, my friend's pan, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm pan too. What? And like this was actually in like one of our servers, like this conversation had been floating around, like the difference between labels and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it was on my mind. I was like, okay, so what, like, is there a distinction to you? Because like, you said you were this and your friend is that. And she said, okay, yeah, so my friend is pan. So she's attracted to anybody, including trans people, like it doesn't matter. And then I'm bisexual, which means I like guys and girls, but I also like trans people because I'm just a different breed of bi. And I was like, wait.
That sounds reductive.
And I was like, wait, what?
That's not helpful at all.
And I'm like, she was just such a sweet 19-year-old, and I was like, okay, so like that didn't really help anything. And the bottom line is, yeah, being bi, pan, omnisexual, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty much universal. They're interchangeable, I think. And I guess the only thing though, pan, maybe it just makes it more clear. And I only base this off of a Cat Black video where she was saying in her experience, if a guy says that he's bi, there's like a 50-50 chance that he'll be interested in a trans woman. But if they say that they're pansexual, she knows, like, okay, they're definitely open to dating a trans woman. So, like, on that, like, functionally, that seems helpful from a label perspective. But I don't think the labels really matter except for, like, that sort of a specific situation.
Yeah, I grew up is a weird term to use. Like, my adult life, when I was, like, discovering different sexualities, because I think that process started maybe in high school, but really, like, in college. I have this very, like, weird, like, I don't know what the word is, connection, connotation isn't the right word. I don't know. Distinction between bi and pan, and it's really more of, like, a feeling. I don't even know if I can put it into words. But obviously correct anything, because I don't identify as either of these sexualities. So, but, like, from my understanding, pansexual is more like, I don't know, like, physical appearance or projection or portrayal doesn't really have anything to do with sexual attraction for pansexual.
I would agree with that. Like, yeah, I think that is kind of, like, my thing, because, like, for me, I definitely have found people attractive, but that's never been, like, that's never motivated my interest in a person, like, at all. It really has to just do with, like, who they are, what they're like, how they are to me, and that's more of, like, what attracts me than, like, just nice boobs or muscles or whatever else.
I think people kind of get hung up on the language of bisexuality because you hear, like, the word bisexual, bi, you think two, and so then it's like, oh, like, you're only attracted to two gender, and then, like, it becomes this whole discourse. But I think, like, over time, the definition and the understanding of bisexuality has kind of changed, because the way, for me at least, the way I differentiate, I'm not saying that word correctly, the main differences between being bisexual and being pansexual, for me at least, is bisexuality is the attraction to two or more genders with preferences sometimes, whereas pansexuality is the attraction to multiple genders without preference.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You know what? That actually makes a lot of sense.
That's also, like, way more concise. I think it's, like, the same thing that we were saying, but, like, way more concise.
Yeah, no, that's actually, like, helpful to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, every time there's it's like, again, people are and wrongly associating, like, being bi as, like, a turf dog whistle, and, like, that hurts me a lot, because I'm like, no, like, being bi has always included, like, the attraction to trans and gender non-conforming people, because like, that they've always been around. It's not just, like, the language is changing because, like, all these new genders are coming. Like, that's not what it is. It's just, it's always been this way, and just we're tweaking the language to fit.
I feel like
things.
That's an important thing to because first of all, I had never, when the discussion came up in one of our Discord servers about, like, how separating pan from bi is, like, potentially harmful to bisexuals because of the turf thing. I had never heard that before, and I was blown away that was a thing, that, like, some people considered bisexuality to be, like, turf.
Trans exclusionary.
Yeah. So I was shocked to hear that. So hopefully there's, like, a lot of people out there like me that, like, don't even know that that's a thing that's a thought. But I mean, I think the same goes for a lot of sexualities. It goes without saying that, like, yeah, it's trans and non-gender conforming, inclusionary. because I think that a lot of people who identify as straight would potentially date a non-binary person.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, no, that's something, like, that reminds me of the Degrassi episode I did with Aaron a while back on, like, the non-binary character they had. And so this character, as they worked towards finding how they wanted to present and things, they had a boyfriend, and it was so sad. They go up to him and they're like, hey, you know, this is me. And then his first thing is like, so am I supposed to just be gay with you now? And then he storms off and leaves. And I was like, what?
Like, so many people are still, like, thinking that sexuality and gender are the same thing. And I'm like, no, they're very different. Like, I was having a conversation with my mom, like a very, like, nice conversation, because we love my mom. And she was like, I'm just, like, curious, like, how does this work? And, like, it was coming from a good place. So I was explaining, like, because I think the discussion was about, like, the last census that we had in Canada, they gave you the option to choose gender non-conforming as, like, your, like, gender thing on the census. And, like, my mom was just asking some questions about, like, this, that, and the other. And I think one of them was, like, kind of leading down the road of, like, oh, well, like, then who are you attracted to when you're non-binary? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see where the confusion is coming from, Mom. So this is not a sexual identity, this is a gender identity. And then, like, I could see, like, the fireworks going off in her head. She's like, oh, I get it. Because, like, there's non-binary lesbians, and there's, like, all of these things. Who you present as doesn't necessarily, like, equate to, like, who you're attracted to.
Yeah, I think that is, like, when it comes to, like, labels and stuff, and this is kind of like what we were talking about with, like, the demisexuality video, like, I think people can get really... There's a two-way street with labels. On one hand, it's very nice to have a word that just can, like,
describe you.
Yeah. On the other hand, people put a lot of, like, power in these labels. Like, there's, like, it really matters. And, like, at a certain point, if all we're arguing, like, in a discussion about, like, okay, is pan more inclusive than bisexual? Like, at this point, if we're going to, like, dissect these words, then they're no longer really that helpful to what they were supposed to be. And I think, but yeah, I think that's another.
I think, like, there was just kind of following our notes. It was because of this, because so many, like, there was so much splitting hairs over, like, what this label meant, and, like, this, that, and the other. For a while, when somebody would ask me, like, what's your sexuality, I would just say I'm queer, because I was like, this is much easier to explain than going into my whole philosophy on being bi. But now I'm like, no, like, this is, like, a fully valid identity. I don't have to, like, justify or explain why I am the way I am.
Yeah, I think one thing, too, that's so weird about, like, you know, if people thinking that, like, bisexuality is, like, trans exclusionary. I think it's just what the most frustrating thing to me about pretty much, like, any trans exclusionary anything is, like, how so much of, like, how people are treated is on how they present themselves.
Yeah.
And, like, no one's ever, like, I'm not saying that nobody finds vaginas or penises attractive. You can. But you usually are more attracted to what those genitals are
what they're
attached to.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not, like, I understand that, like, people, like, look at something and they're like, oh, I see, like, that flower looks like a vagina. But, like, you're still thinking of, like,
you're still
more.
seeing a flower.
Yeah, but, like, it reminds you, again, of what the vagina is attached to. I think, unless, like, you're exclusively attracted to, like, fleshlights and things like that.
That's exactly right.
which case, I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, like, go off, but, like, for the most part, it's so weird. So, like, whenever people are like, oh, like, so many shows, like, we were just finished watching House and, like, Dawson's Creek. I could go on, like, a million miles a second. I'm like, even if, like, it's not the whole show, but just, like, how in the early 2000s it was just, like, this weird trans humor where, like, the absolute funniest thing would be finding a woman attractive and then discovering that this woman had a penis.
Yes.
Like,
I've been binge watching The Simpsons from like season 1, and there are several jokes. It's not like every episode. Like The Simpsons is pretty progressive, even like back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But yes, that was like one of their big jokes.
That was
like,
top tier quality humor back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So funny. Haha. I'm like, shut the fuck
that
up,
wasn't
please.
even in The Hangover, you know? Like,
that was, like, I remember watching that movie, and, like, this is, like, it wasn't, maybe if I rewatched it now, I was, like, I don't know, I think I was, like, in 9th grade when that movie came out, and, like, I think I just genuinely did not understand a lot of the jokes in the movie, because I was, like, watching that, and, like, I definitely understood, like, okay, this, like, sex worker has a penis, so, like, haha, he's worried he's gay now or something, but I actually, like, didn't get why it was, like, funny, especially, like, I don't know, it just felt like a really straightforward delivery of everying that happened.
Yeah, and it's so lowbrow, too.
Because it was, like, I remember, like, the only thing about it that made it funny was when Ed Helms' character is like, every time we get drunk, I, like, either, I guess in the first, I only saw, like, part, like, 3 or whatever it was, this one, and then it's like, I got with, you know, whoever in the first one, and, like, every time we drink, I get with, like, these sex workers, and I'm gonna get married to somebody else, so I have, like, this real problem, and I was like, I mean, I guess this just, like, isn't really funny. You're just, like, reevaluating all
I think
your
you're just
life
having an identity
choices.
crisis.
Yeah.
this is kind of related, but this is the exact same problem I have with Friends. It's like most of the jokes in the show Friends, and I can't wait to get comments about this because it's a well-beloved show. But hot take, most of the jokes in Friends are just two people having an argument and then they put a laugh track to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely...
This wouldn't be funny in real life.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I do think, like, sometimes, like, with certain... Like, I think with Chandler, he usually gets, like, a punchline, but, like, my friend a while, like, 2 years ago or something was going through Friends, and I would just, like, catch it every now and then, and I was just, like... looking at it, and I was like, okay, so you're a trash person, you're stupid.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
Phoebe and we love you.
Yes.
That's the thing, too, like, Phoebe, like, was causing no trouble. I feel like the show would have been better if she just was gay, though.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
Phoebe's
like that.
absolutely bisexual, 100%, but it was the 90s, so they wouldn't commit to it.
It was just, like, one thing that was so... But, like...
If Friends came out in 2022, Phoebe would have a girlfriend.
Yeah. Phoebe would have a girlfriend. I think...
They'd be gay married and it'd be great.
We could, I mean, yeah, like, there's a lot of different things to talk about, like, Friends, and, like, I don't think Friends ages as well as other shows do, just because too much stuff happened, and, like, I think why Seinfeld holds up is kind of for the same reason, like, It's Always Sunny does, because, like, they're bad people.
It's just awful people, yeah.
But, like, Friends, we're supposed to think they're good, and, like, if they're good people, then, like, I don't
That's
know.
why The Sopranos worked. We knew they were bad people.
Yeah, like, and I, on one hand, like, Seinfeld and, like, sitcoms in general, like, usually the main characters are bad and it's kind of like, hee hee. But, like,
Look at this goof.
but it was just so... Okay, like, I guess since we brought up Friends,
This is now just the Friends episode.
we'll get back to bisexual, but since, like, while we're here...
While we're here.
thoughts on the whole on a break controversy? Where do you go?
I just don't like Ross.
I cannot.
I can't stand Ross. Something about him gives me the ick.
I just, thinking about Friends gives me anxiety because I'm like, imagine, the whole premise of this is that they're all best friends, but imagine this weird incestual, like, relationships that you have with your best friend. I cannot do it. I'm like, this is, ugh. I can't do it.
Because here's
I know, like, we've joked about, like, kind of friends being a harem or, like, a poly... as a joke. As a joke. This is not true. But like, imagine if it was real. That would be Friends.
No. See, because at bottom, we know how to be decent to each other.
Fair.
And, like, okay, so
That's true.
here's my hot take on the break. And this is something that I've heard nobody talk about, but, like, you know, you can apply nuance to even something as basic as Friends. So, technically, yes, Ross, you are correct. You were on a break, so it's fine that you had sex with her. But do not expect Rachel to be cool with that.
Yeah.
She went to your house. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, you're the reason you were on a break anyway, so you done goofed it. She was willing to be vulnerable, put herself in that vulnerable position, and you were having sex with someone else. Now, you could be like, I don't care about sex like that, I love you, or whatever lies you want to tell yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, sleeping with that girl, that was closing the book on anything with Rachel. And it should have just stayed over. You guys could have become friends. And, like, now she's been in a relationship with you. So maybe she can help you apply yourself better in a future relationship. But the book is over. Right? She should have gotten on the plane and lived her best life in Paris and forgotten about you forever. And that's my take on it. They were on a break. Okay.
So what was your initial incident, everybody?
Oh, wait, before we move on to initial
Okay.
incident, I do have something else to say about labels. So I have always been, I'm like label abolitionist. Like, I don't think labels should exist. I understand why they're necessary, but like, you date and sleep with whoever you want. I don't care. That's not my business unless you're pursuing me or I'm pursuing you.
Yeah.
You know? Like, but that being said, I did find myself kind of recently, like, I don't know. It made me feel weird because I identify as demisexual. It's a big part of my identity, I feel like, because especially just, I don't know, just my whole, I don't know, listen to our demisexuality video,
Hard in the corner.
and you'll
Always
understand
plugging.
everything. So just my journey to that discovery of that, like, that other people also have the same experience as me, is very important to me. And I think it's important that people understand it because a lot of people don't. And so that being said, obviously I use the split attraction model because, like, yeah, you're demisexual, but what does that mean? You could be you could be demisexual and be, like, straight or, you know, hetero-romantic or whatever. So I told someone recently that, you know, demisexual, they understood what that meant. And I was like, and they were like, but, like, what does that mean? And for the most part, I feel like demisexual, if you don't specify, probably means you're attracted to all genders because just the very nature of demisexuality being like emotional connection, you know, so why would gender matter even? But since they asked, I was like, I guess, like, pan-romantic, like, it doesn't, I feel like that kind of demisexuality just inherently includes that. And then later on, I was referred to by this person as pansexual, and I was like, wait a second.
But I don't.
Not pansexual.
You missed half of. It's split attraction, so you missed the split part.
So they were like, yeah, I mean, like, you're pansexual or, like, whatever. And I was like, well, no. And so, as much as I don't like labels and, like, really couldn't care less about them, also, I feel like as long as we're in a society that is going to use labels and be so attached to them, I'm allowed to also be attached to my labels.
Yeah.
Because other people, you know, they have a very strong concept of what these things are. So if somebody says that I'm pansexual, I'm like, well, you're missing an important part of my sexuality, and that's that
Yeah.
I have to have that emotional connection, which isn't necessarily, I don't know. That was an interesting discovery for myself that, like, I don't know, being referred to as the wrong label. I was like, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of comfort that people have in labels, because it's like, oh, like, if this has a name, then there's other people like this, so I'm not alone in this weird gay sea.
Right.
So it's a built-in community, kind of. But at the same time, like, labels sometimes lead to a lot of infighting and gatekeeping.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like having labels. It makes me feel cozy, but I don't like when other people use them to, like, push people out of the community. So if you're gonna use labels, yay, I love that for you. If you don't want to use labels, I'm glad that, like, you're at this point in your journey where you're like, I don't need a label, and I like that for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Just be nice to everybody. Everybody be nice to each other.
But also, like, maybe try to respect people's labels if they told you, like, their specific label.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This goes for everything. This goes for gender. This goes for sexuality. This calls for names. This calls for everything.
Yeah, pronouns, all that.
Pronouns,
Like,
absolutely.
Figure if someone took the time to say words to you, maybe remember
like,
them.
put them in your brain and keep them there.
Yeah.
Just as a general rule.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously, nobody's perfect. You can forget, and that's okay too. But, like, when you're corrected...
Remember for next time.
Yeah, when you're corrected, don't just be like, I'm not perfect.
Yeah, whatever.
Bleh.
Or don't be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's good. That's a rule to live by.
Yeah.
Okay.
So initial incidents.
Yeah. Would you like to go first, Karina?
I watched a lot of Sailor Moon as a kid.
Me too.
and I was like, wow, these sure are some beautiful ladies. And then it kind of, like, escalated into, like, wow, these are very pretty cartoon ladies. Let me, like, take a look around. Oh, these are some, like, and I was, like, small at the time, but I would, like, kind of look at people and be like, I want to remember your face. Like, I want to remember this woman's face as a 5-year-old. But, like, and then that kind of continued into my adolescence. And then being like a 4th or 5th grader, and, like, people call everything gay in the bad way, not like, oh my god, gay dog, love that, in, like, that's so gay, like, 5th grader way. And then I figured out what that was, and I'm like, oh, so if 2 + 2 is 4 and 5 + 5 is 10, being gay is bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, don't think, you gotta stop looking at girls. This isn't cute. And then getting older and being exposed to more, like, stuff. I'm sounding so stupid, but, like, learning more about, like, different identities and sexualities, and just kind of being introduced to, like, LGBTQ plus topics. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty neat. That's not me, though. I'm an ally. Let's go, allies. And then eventually I was like, oh, I think I like girls too. Oh no. But it took me a really long time to come to terms with that, because I felt, like, kind of embarrassed for it. Because I'm like, well, I've kind of spent my whole life, like, being the default, being, like, a straight person, and
The
thinking
default.
that I was, yeah, the default, and thinking I was hiding it well. And then, as it turns out, my sister knew for years. It was just like, I just got that vibe from you, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I was doing such a horrible job. But then, like, yeah, so I'm out almost everywhere except for, like, to my parents. I think, like, they kind of know, but, like, we haven't, because I kind of came out to them when I was in high school, and I think it was, like, a big, like, shock to them. And so then they're like, maybe you should, like, sit on this for a little bit. Like, you know, just, like,
Sleep
you don't,
on it.
Yeah, sleep, like, you don't need to label yourself right away. And so that's, like, partly why now I'm like, no, like, I have to label myself.
Yeah.
I know who I am, and I need other people to know who I am. So I think they know, but we just haven't had that conversation, which, like, you know, that's fine. But yeah, like, Sailor Moon did it for me. She's the reason why I am who I am today.
We love Sailor Moon on this
We
channel.
love Sailor Moon.
Wait, what exactly is an initial incident then?
I think it's just like the first time that you kind of realize, like, oh, this is something new. Like, for some people, it's like, oh, there was this. Okay, like, if we do we need, like, a person initial incident? Because there's this girl in high school where I was like, oh, girl pretty. But I'm like, maybe she's a little, I just did the limp wrist, but, like, who knows? But I was like, oh, wow, she's really pretty. And I'd get, like, really, like, butterfly-y when I was near her. And I was like, oh, wow. Would never dare to, like, do anything about it. Because I went to an awful high school. But, like, yeah, I think, like, the term initial incident is just kind of like this light bulb moment where you, as either, like, a young person or maybe as an adult, you acknowledge this part of yourself.
Yeah, I don't know what mine is then. Because, like, I don't know, like... Because there was a lot of... Because the problem with me not knowing how anything works was I remember being in preschool, and I always really liked my preschool, one of the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They're always just hanging around her. And then I remember hearing something about gay being bad, and I was like, oh, wait. Am I a lesbian?
Am I a lesbian?
I had a crush on a boy, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Fixed.
Thank God that's out of my hands.
And that kind of just, like, kept happening for a while until I understood that, like, no, you could like both. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that then.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, but, like, I remember watching, my parents took me to, like, basically as long as it was, like, PG-13 or on TV, I was watching it with them. And I remember watching Pretty Woman, I think I've said this before, and liking Richard Gere.
And then being convinced you were going to have this, like, beautiful whirlwind romance with him when you were a child.
I love the idea of me. I told you guys about my Jim Carrey dream, right?
Oh, not Jim Carrey. I know about Richard Gere, not about this one.
Okay, this one, I was like older, but in the dream I was a kid, so I don't know what that means. But in this dream, I'm with my family, and we go to this restaurant. Jim Carrey, and, like, I don't know who I gave him, but he was with somebody else, and they were also at this restaurant. And, like, we hit it off, and they love it. But Jim Carrey obviously loves me the most because I'm me. Then
This is how fan fictions start.
This is literally fan fiction.
But this is a recurring. I've had the same exact dream multiple times though. So we all agree we're going to, like, do this again, and it becomes our annual tradition to meet at this restaurant. I guess, I don't know, but anyway,
we're gonna meet Jim Carrey at the Olive Garden every year. But
at the same time, though, I stay 8 for, like, the whole thing, so I don't know how much time actually passed. But anyway, one year I'm, like, so worried because we're there, like, our appetizers came, our entrees came, our dessert came, and, like, no Jim Carrey. Finally, and I'm like, oh no, he's not gonna be able to come this year. Then
he's too busy filming The Grinch.
Yeah, he rushes in, and then we just danced around the room, and I did the thing where it's me on his feet.
Oh my gosh. This is a father figure fantasy.
Yeah. But, like, it was also romantic. So, like, I'm not trying to unpack all of that. I'm just saying that this is that.
I think you should dream journal.
That's, like, why I don't really like have a type or anything. It's just I grew up watching a lot of Jim Carrey movies. I like destroyed the VHS tape for Liar Liar. I watched it so much.
I was gonna say, like, Zach's watched Liar Liar one too many times, and that's what did it for her. But
You're
it was
right.
just a guess. But did you also watch it for Jennifer Tilly?
You know what's so funny is, like, when I was older, I, like, did not register that she was in it. I actually really liked who his wife was. I don't know her name or what else she was in. But I really liked his wife. I liked her. She was a good mom, and she had a pretty face.
Yeah.
But then when I was older, I was like, oh, wow, how did I not notice Jennifer Tilly? And,
How did I not know this was Jennifer Tilly?
Golly. It's just I had different... I guess, like, I don't know, when you're a kid, I guess you're not really noticing, like, Big Booba.
That it's the same actor over and over in different movies.
Yeah.
You're like, this defendant kind of sounds like Stuart Little's mom.
I never
weird.
watched Stuart Little.
She's the mouse mom for Stuart
Have you
Little,
seen it?
and they made her a sexy mouse.
Never seen it? We need to watch it.
I don't even remember. Yeah,
Jennifer
I guess
Tilly is
so.
sexy rat.
Oh.
Also, the screenplay was by M. Night Shyamalan, so...
That's interesting,
That's
too.
wild.
Golly, it's weird where people come from, where they
Yeah.
go.
Cotton Eye Joe.
Yes.
Okay, Rose, do you want to share with us your initial incidents?
So it's hard to pinpoint it, right? Like, as everybody who was watching this presumably knows from our demisexuality.
Always plugging.
It was card in the corner.
Yeah. For the
was-
fourth time.
Yeah. Just keep putting the same one. It was like an interesting journey into my sexuality that didn't start until I was like in adulthood. So I just don't know. I think there was a lot of times where I felt very strongly connected to a lot of my female friends, but I just thought it was just like I'm just crazy and get like crazy emotional connections to people. And was, I think, having like jealousy ideations that I thought was just like I'm just being too attached to this person, where in reality it was probably like an attraction thing.
Yeah.
I think that happened to me a lot, especially in high school. But I don't know if there was, and like, it was never, I didn't have the same experience as the two of you did with like gay is bad, kind of thing. 'Cause I actually had like a lot of gay friends in middle school and high school. And, despite being raised Catholic, that wasn't ever like a huge thing. It was talked about, but not like we have to steer clear of these people. It's just like, yeah, they're just gonna be judged later on.
Aw.
Okay.
Love
So
the
I
sin or
was-
hate the sin.
I think there was never like anything that was necessarily suppressed because of that. And also there was never anything wrong with like my mom would be like, oh yeah, this person's really pretty, or like this person's really attractive. Like I think that was just something I always heard growing up anyway. So it was okay for me to be like, yeah, this is my friend, she's really pretty. Without
It being like an eyebrow raising moment.
yeah. So I don't think I can't think of like it was just like a slow ease into it.
That makes sense. I think, okay, 2 questions I have for everybody. Okay, one, I guess I don't know if the order matters, but have you ever found yourself crushing on a couple?
Like both of them?
Yeah, like both
No.
of them.
Well,
I probably have, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my... Actually, you know what? John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Yeah, like, I had these friends growing up, and, like, I was friends with him first, and, like, had a crush on him, but, like, at this... I don't know, had gotten used to having crushes on basically, like,
on everybody.
So, like, add it to the pile. Then, I remember he started seeing this girl, and I was like... Oh no, am I gonna get like jealous? Is it gonna cause problem? Nope, just fell in love with her too.
Yeah.
But I was just happy for them to have each other in a way I never would.
Happy to have something else to look at.
They were lovely though. Then second question. When you were in high school, I think because like high school is when I was like, I'm bi and like just, you know, careful who you tell kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you're in high school or in college, I guess, either way, did you notice like girls being like performatively queer?
Oh, yeah. In high school, for sure.
Like,
I saw more. So, to my knowledge, I don't think anybody in my... Because, again, I was at a horrible high school. I don't think anybody was like, I'm out and I'm bi, at least, like, in my grade, like, in my graduating class. But what I do remember is, like, girls kissing was, like, ooh, you know, like...
Oh.
Like, you would kiss your girlfriends, and it was like, oh my god, we're so crazy.
yeah.
Also, actually,
yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, college, there was a lot of girls who were performatively queer, specifically to like for the male gaze, you know, like
Yeah.
we're gonna kiss at this party because we're drunk and
Oh
guys
my
think it's hot.
Sarah,
Yeah.
we can't take you anywhere.
I think that is the weirdest, like, the biggest, like, rip-off for me. Because...
Were you? I think we made a joke about this like episodes ago, or just like in a chat where it was like the wanting to like go to a party, and it's like, ooh, let's play truth or dare. Ooh, who dares me to kiss this person?
Yeah, it never worked out for me. I remember there was this. This is so sad. This is such a cringe memory, but I'll say it anyway. Okay, so there's this girl. Like, I think she did go on to be a lesbian.
Go
Okay.
on.
Let's go,
She's
lesbians.
fired for it.
Something you have to train for.
Yeah, but like, it was so like, this isn't really even about, she wasn't the performative one, but like, I don't know, like, there were just, like, these group of girls who were just, like, not necessarily part of the kissing group, but, like, they all, like, quote-unquote were dating, but not really. And, like, I don't know, I feel like I was too genuine, so that's part of why I was excluded from this event. Because I remember talking to, like, one of them, and I was like... basically confessing to her that I had a huge crush on her in middle school. And she was just like, oh. And because this was so sad. This was my plan. I started wearing makeup in the 8th grade, and I brought all my stuff to school, and I asked her to help me, even though I already knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was
going to be a romantic moment.
And, like, the ploy worked because she did help me until the moment she was like, oh, you're, like, already wearing mascara. But other than that, it was a flawless plan.
Can you do makeup for me? I'm already halfway done. Can you finish the rest of it?
And then, like, fast forward to high school, we were, like, sitting there, and I was like, oh, do you remember when, like, I asked you to help me with my makeup? And she was like, oh, yeah. And then I could tell she already knew where it was going. And I was like, anyway, that happened.
Funny, right? Oh my god, not to talk about something else.
Weird.
That was
Not to talk about...
so funny.
Not to talk about something that's like kind of relevant, sort of. I don't know if anybody has watched Moral Oral.
I love Moral Oral. Close
okay,
face.
great. Oh yes, okay. I'm glad somebody else gets it. Okay, that whole episode. For those who don't know what Moral Oral is, I suggest that you watch it. It's like this 2007 question mark claymation show.
It was early 2000s.
Yeah. So this like early 2000s show on Adult Swim. So you you already know where this is going. Sometimes the show is like it hits in the worst ways possible, but then you also have episodes where it's like Moral gets addicted to smoking crack cocaine and you're like, oh great. So but there's one episode where the town lesbian is recalling like being like having a friendship with a classmate, and like the classmate's whole thing was like, ooh, we're gonna kiss and it's gonna be so scandalous and we're gonna piss off like all the adults in town. Meanwhile, Stephanie is like a lesbian, and there's a point where like they do their like and then like someone shows up and it's like, oh my god, and then she's like, that was so funny, and Stephanie's like, you know, I wish you'd kiss me for real sometimes. And she's like, what? Yeah, like I like you and I want to kiss you and have it not be a joke. Okay. And then like her boyfriend walks past. She's like, whoa, oh my god, that's so it's so sad. It's so sad. Anyways, watch. Maybe we'll do a Moral Oral episode.
Yeah, you know,
because I have so much to say about this show. It is excellent.
it is a really good show. I just like binge watched it all Sunday. But, like,
I'm so glad it's getting the attention and like recognition now that it deserves.
I really wish it hadn't been cut short. Maybe they'll make a movie if enough people demand it.
Season 4. Let's make it happen.
Gosh.
Years later.
Okay.
It did end on a really sweet note, and I'm glad they ended it how they ended it.
I just wanted a lot more.
I needed more.
Okay. So, does being attracted to multiple genders make things easier in any way? Harder in any way?
I think for, like, me personally, it doesn't, like... So there is that aspect. Okay, so full disclosure, I've only ever dated men, and I am dating a man right now. But like when the thought crossed my head of like, oh, I could be like in a relationship with girls, there was always that like, but is she into girls? And like not wanting to like make things awkward by being like, so are you like limp wrist? And then them being like, no.
There's like this secret like code that people know of how to identify other queer
if you know,
people.
you
and, like,
know.
Can you tell me what it is? Because I
there's
can't
like jokey
figure
things.
it out.
There's jokey things where it's like cuffed jeans,
I mean,
artsy.
like when it's like overt, I guess, but like. I guess, okay, so for me, that's not as much of a problem, I guess, upon first interaction, because, you know, but I would still like to know, just to bond with people.
Like, are you gay? Yeah. Okay, cool. This is a safe space. Okay.
You take off a mask, you're straight with the mask.
Thank God.
Yeah, like, I think I've only really talked to, like, 2 girls like that, and what, like, in both cases, one was was when I was an adult, 18, and then one was, like, in high school, and then, like, she was closeted, but I try to go back to how that happened, because, like, we were talking in computer class, and then we kissed. And I don't know really, like, I did something right.
I cracked the code, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I tried to rework it, like, but I don't know what it was.
Like reverse engineer it?
I couldn't tell you how that worked out. Like, but as far as, like, but I feel like a Michael Cera or something, like, in that dynamic, as far as just, like, awkward kid lucked into something amazing once. Yeah.
I think maybe this is definitely going to lead into another question that we have to answer. But, like, in terms of, like, things outside of my control that make it difficult is the perception from other people.
Yes.
particularly from straight men.
Yes. Also,
it's,
yes.
like, so this part of this is my fault because I picked some bad dudes back in the day.
Also, yes.
So maybe this is 60% my fault. But
No, it's not.
it's not. But like, you know, I would drop the fact that like, oh, like I'm bi. There's one exchange that I remember with me and a classmate who I was also like very into at the time. We were both talking and I was like, oh yeah, I'm bi. And she's like, oh my God, me too. And this guy that at the time I was kind of pursuing was like, oh, you guys are both bi. And immediately I was like, this is a red flag. I know exactly what you're thinking.
I know where this is going.
I don't like that. I should have called it there.
Yeah.
Should have called it there, but because I'm an idiot, I ignored it. But like the amount of times that's happened, not just with like people that I'm like romantically pursuing, but just like from like outside places, it's like, oh, like, I'm like, can you like, we're not talking about that. We were having a conversation about the course material. Why is this?
What is happening?
Yeah. How did we explain how we got from point A to point B?
Oh, you're straight? Yeah,
wow. I bet you kiss a lot of girls. like, stop, please.
Yeah, I think for me, it hasn't really been hard or easy in any, because I'm just not that experienced a person in general.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, and this isn't necessarily like a bisexual problem, more that's like a sheltered idiot kid who doesn't know how to do anything problem. But like, basically when I was like 18, I was in like 2 different relationships. Like, one lasted a little longer than the other, with people a lot older than me. One was with a man and one was with a woman. And both basically had the same problem, which was that not necessarily just like taking advantage of me because I was younger, but more just like, I think because I was younger, my feelings didn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like, she'll bounce back, so who cares kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, on one hand,
so
it's like
bad.
And like, on one hand, I can kind of understand why you might think that, but like, I don't think that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a 4-month-old and I'm gonna forget this happened the next day. I am a grown person. I'm gonna remember this.
yeah. Like, and it was weird too, because like, I don't know if this was like a unicorn hunter thing, because at first I thought what we bonded over was that like we were both curious about like what it was like to be with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she never said anything about like bringing her husband into it, but ultimately the reason it ended was because her husband couldn't find any partners.
So was this gonna be like a poly or like a swinging thing that they were doing?
I think so, like, because she said, like, you know, we're married, but like we're just like trying to
Not
like,
exclusive.
explore.
We're trying to open the relationship.
Yeah, so like, you know, he's, you know, he does his thing. I don't know. I think he goes to like clubs on whatever day or something like that, and like she's looking to meet people like me. And then I was like, oh, okay. And like, honestly, like, that's probably for the best, because I wasn't really in a position to be public with anybody at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I think that this is like mutually beneficial, until it just ended abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's necessary. I don't think that was like a hardship, because like, it's not like being bi made that any harder or easier. So...
But it got you into that situation, but like, had you not been attracted to women, then she wouldn't have like been bad to you. Like that type of thing?
I think so, yeah. Or like I wouldn't have been, or like if being bi was more accessible in my life, I wouldn't have needed to like go to those sorts
To
of
go and like find
like
this type of person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, it's, I think, mostly just been outside, like, not understanding how anything works. It's been always with straight men, and just, like, yeah, I just think you're more attracted to women. Like, being, like, them trying to mansplain to me who I'm attracted to.
Yeah. Have you ever come into, I guess this is now just kind of, like, becoming our fifth question, how do you come into contact with any negative stereotypes? I guess this is just that now. Have either of you, like, been in a situation where being, like, attracted to women has been, like, this, like, competitive thing with men? Like, if you've been in a relationship and, like, they're not bi or queer, but you are, and they're like, oh, you're probably gonna, like, leave me for a woman, or you're looking at that girl over there and like that makes me jealous. Like, have either of you been in that situation? Like
the idea of like your partner being more jealous because you're attracted to more than one gender kind of thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say necessarily like more. I mean, like, I've definitely had conversations like that. But, and like, you know, like Rogue, like you said on your, and I think for me, not so much like competitive, but I think more just like they got off on it, kind of.
Yeah.
They were like, what do you think of how she looks? And it's like, oh yeah, she's really pretty. Like
it's like, oh yeah, tell me more. What do you want to do to her? And you're like, can you go away?
Like,
I think she's pretty.
Like, I don't, like, yeah, like, I don't know, remember her and masturbate later. I don't know. What do you mean?
I don't know. We're in Trader Joe's. I'm not gonna, like, talk about this. I'm trying to buy some mixed nuts and leave.
Since I brought up masturbation, this is like not really a thing. Okay, like,
this is kind of Friends After Dark now. If you're a child, if you're a minor listening to this, or your parents are here, get lost.
Get out of here.
Scram.
Skedaddle. Okay, but like, I don't know. I just do not like straight porn.
Okay, this is a side tangent about the porn industry now.
It can be 2 guys, 2 girls, a whole orgy. I just don't want one guy and a girl.
I think that was maybe my initial incident, is I've never been into straight porn.
Yeah, okay, I want to talk about porn for a second. Okay. So, porn itself, listen, we all watch porn sometimes. The porn industry, though, oh my god.
Yes,
so
it's horrid. Absolutely.
It's horrid. It's so exploitative, not just for women, for men as well, for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, because women in porn are treated horribly. Terribly.
And I mean, there's a reason why, like, gay for pay is a term. Like, for men, a lot of men in gay porn are actually straight, which, like, that's so upsetting.
That's so, like, it's such a violation of, like, you as this, like, performer. You're put in a position where, like, I don't want to do this, but I need to keep my lights on. Like, that's awful. And, like, you know, there's a lot of, like, really dubious content out on certain porn sites. And, like, you know, there's that big takedown of, like, a whole bunch of, like, videos off of Pornhub pretty recently, because it was like, you know, we don't know if this was filmed consensually, or we don't know if this is an adult. We don't know, like, if this was put up on the internet with your permission. And there's so many gray lines within that industry. And so that's why my porn preferences are very niche. It needs to be, I need to be like, this couple loves each other. This needs to be filmed by them, not in a studio. This is in somebody's college dorm room. The roommate is in the next room.
Yeah.
This is love that I'm watching.
That's so funny. Because,
also,
like, oh yeah.
You might be able to find local, I don't know how much of a thing this is anymore with the internet, but I mean, when I was in college and the internet was a thing, it was an established thing for porn. They still have like porn shops or sex shops.
Yeah. I went to a sex shop with my friend.
Or like buy porn.
My friend and I went to a sex shop and we spent like a good like 20 minutes just going through like the video selection, and my favorite title was Hot Sluts in Mexico. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Pay-per-view has the best porn titles. Sometimes I just scroll through them on DirecTV because I'm like,
we're gonna have to bleep this. I fucked my best friend's sister. Question mark.
But what I was gonna say is sometimes if you can find local sex shops that are sex positive, sometimes you can find like ethically sourced pornographic.
Isn't it weird that we have to say sex positive sex shop? Like, that feels like an oxymoron, but sometimes you go into one and you're like, something about this is just like kind of gross.
Like, Seductions is a I don't know if they have it in Canada, but it's like a nationwide sex shop. And I don't know, I just refuse to go there. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me,
it's just not sex positive.
Yeah. This is like a funny conversation like I've had with Bob, because he's like, okay, do you just like, are you sure you don't just like have a foot fetish? And I'm like, no, but honestly, but here's the thing. Here is why I end up watching more foot porn than anything else. Because I don't know what it is. A lot of like, if I look up like girls kissing or whatever, it'll always be like, we're kissing,
foot
but
worship.
Like you're watching us, male viewer, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's for
so much
gaze.
lesbian porn is made specifically for the male gaze. It is not made for queer women.
And I'm just like not like, it just like takes me right out of it. But I need a plot, and a lot of foot porn has a story. Like there's this one where she's doing a job interview, and this girl wants the job, so she tells her friend who her boss is, and her friend is like, oh my gosh, I totally recognize your boss. She's on this like foot dating site, and then they talk to the boss, and then the boss is like, oh my gosh, girls, you caught me. And then like they're all super,
oh, you're gonna have to touch my feet now.
And they're all like super into the feet, and I'm like, okay, like I kind of wish it wasn't feet, but like at least like you all seem really into what's happening right now, and I appreciate that as a viewer.
Yeah, I hate when I hate when I'm watching lesbian porn and then they start scissoring. I'm like, this was not made with me in mind. This is not made for me.
This is just something I've noticed they do a lot too in porn, like in general, like where they'll just sort of like open people up and zoom in. Like that's like something people
POV,
do.
I'm the gynecologist.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like, that's not what this is not what I came here for. I came here for girls kissing.
Yeah, like, people don't really do all that during the real thing. Like, let me get this flashlight GoPro. I'm so sorry that this is just delving into a porn discussion.
We're gonna have to clip this and make it a separate video.
Yeah, there's gonna be so many, like, fun extra clips this Pride Month, but there's gonna be the Friends one, there's gonna be the porn discussion. But, like, I hate how gross porn is sometimes. Because, like, I don't want this upward angle that's, like, going up your nostrils of you being like, what the? No, I don't want that. Why? I don't want to yum yuck. That's not what I'm trying to do. But, like, so much of it is just so, like,
it's just
appalling.
I feel
yeah, who decided that this is what was, like, hot? Like,
yeah, like, I watch it, like, I understand, like, I don't know, maybe the three of us are just, like, not getting it. But, like, because I feel like we have, like, the general consensus that, like, I feel like there are more people that if they had, like, a porn focus group, they could be like, because, like, I like, you know, like I said, like, I like a story. I need to know why these people are canoodling. I like their faces when they're enjoying themselves, but I don't really need to see, like, all that's happening down there, because, like, in real life, like, you're not...
I know what's going on there.
Like, when you're experiencing the real thing, that's not really part of the appeal, I don't think. But, like... Yes.
I Oh, I want to know who is deciding that this is what's attractive. I guess, like, what gets the views or whatever. But, like, it seems kind of cyclical to me because, as we all need to be reminded, porn is very different than sex in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how did it happen that this is what they think people want to see instead of maybe something closer to real life?
Yeah. I know.
Because then it just ends up being cyclical. Because that's what people expect, but then that's not what it's like. And so then they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what it's like, really." But then they end up just watching more porn, and then they forget.
I don't want to watch Fuck Bus 5. I want to see this couple love each other.
It's kind of
I want to see them both enjoying themselves.
It's kind of unfortunate, but the fact that I have to remember all the timestamps for the parts I like and the parts that I really do not like.
I like
scrolling through.
I like when there's timestamps in the video, and it's like, all right, at 3:43 they will start kissing, and then at 5:15 there will be a titty out. I'm like, okay, whoever went through this.
I appreciate it because honestly, there's sometimes, especially like, you know, when you're trying to get to like the part that you like, but like, you know, you only have one hand. So like, you're trying to find this kiss and you just can't.
You're like, oh man, I'm having such a hard time navigating this website.
I feel like this is honestly like people need to talk about porn like this more because I don't.
Let's make an actual like porn Big Sisters episode.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
We'll do some research. We'll get into it. We'll provide resources.
So yeah,
because right now we're just complaining, and I love that, and there will be more complaining in that episode.
So guys, last night we just watched like 10 hours of porn. Here's what we learned.
Yeah, so we had Prawn watch again. Here's the notes we took.
Oh gosh. Prawn is like, I do
Oh my god, Prawn is, listen, I love the evening. I love that it brings us, this makes no sense to anybody else watching, but like, I love that it brings us together, and like, it's a fun night, and we have some good laughs, and I love that like, it's just a fun activity night. I hate watching the whole thing though.
Well, that's coming up
because
this
it goes on forever. Nobody looks like they're having a good time. It's so boring. It's nearly 2 hours long.
But then
and it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
February though, we got to skip like the sex part, so
we did, and it was a 15-minute viewing.
Yeah, and it was like there.
And then we watched a karate movie.
Oh gosh, I really like. Shout out to Skylar for making that doable, I guess.
Oh man, thank you, Skylar and Jalen.
Okay, so let's move on. Were there any
back to more negative stereotypes?
Okay, so were there any like bisexual characters, figures, on TV or anything that affected you in any way at any point in your lives?
No, because I didn't see any.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember any, like, honestly any.
Because again, I watched the English dub of Sailor Moon, so I didn't know that they were lesbians.
They were cousins.
They were cousins who were just way too close to each other.
That's cute.
It wasn't cute. It was like, I love you, my cousin.
Why did they have to make them cousins and not like sisters?
Because I think that would have been too weird.
Kiss.
It was like they like each other too much. There's a degree of separation when you're cousins. I sound like I'm justifying cousin relationships.
Well, Rudy Giuliani agrees. Also, kissing cousins is very American.
But I'm not American. Maybe I could get away with it if I was. But listen, I don't date your cousin. Please don't date your cousin.
I just rewatched House, and I don't know if one of the characters, Olivia Wilde's character, she's bisexual, and it's weird. Okay, so here's where I feel like, on one hand, she's bisexual, she doesn't really care. Every House, but I don't know. House is very strange because he makes fun of everybody. So obviously he harps on her being bisexual because that's basically the only thing she has that makes her...
That's his only critique of her he can make.
Basically, that's literally it. So then... But then there's this episode... But then, so like, at first she's got, spoiler alert for House, I guess, but she's got this life-threatening disease, like it's chronic, like no cure, like it's just gonna happen. But once she finds out she has it, she starts like, quote unquote, throwing her life away. She goes clubbing every night. She's hooking up with all these different girls. And then once she gets that out of her system, her first real relationship was with a guy on the show. But then at first it's like, wait, what? So like, I feel like they're treating the boy relationship more like a real one.
Yeah,
But...
I think a lot of early 2000 shows, I don't know why I said 2000s shows. I love speaking. They really treated like, and it was always like women in the show that were bi. You would never see a man character who was bi, but it was always like, oh yeah, like when I was in my lesbian phase, I'm looking at you, Bones. I will never forgive you for that. But it was always like, oh, it was a phase, or like she's going through it, so she's like being all wacky and wild and kissing girls. Oh my god. But then like she gets it out of her system, and it's like, okay, now you can like settle down with a man, which is the proper
I feel
thing
like
to
that's
do.
even kind of still a persisting stereotype. Is like she's a party girl and therefore she's bi.
Yeah.
Because that's what party girls do.
We're bisexual.
I think that... Yeah, I think that, like, it's still kind of happening. Although, I think they're sort of, like... I was just watching Grownish, and I have so many problems with that show. It's honestly... I kind of don't... I sort of liked Mixed-ish, but I got bored after a few episodes. But I don't really like any of the Ish shows.
Yeah.
Not even
I think
the original Blackish.
My problem with Blackish, honestly, it's not even that it's a bad show. Like, I've watched a few episodes, they make me laugh. I'm just kind of sick of, like, I don't know, that whole ABC block. It seems like they keep making shows about minorities for white people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember what video it was.
Yeah.
But we talked about that, where it's like, you know, Blackish started off as a show about black people for black people, but then as the series progressed, it became a series about black people for white people.
Yeah,
Which
like,
is wild, because they used to like bring up some pretty like racially charged issues on Blackish, and then all of a sudden like, I don't know what happened.
It flopped.
Yeah, it happened on this one episode, and it, like, the hair episode, and I was like, wow, this is, like, I don't know, like, I didn't feel like once, because I didn't really watch it when it first came out, just because, like, I didn't have cable. Like, I would stream shows. So, I just missed the boat on that. But I remember just, like, watching, like, I think their colorism episode and their hair episode, and I was like, I'm glad, it's nice to see something that a lot of black girls go through on TV, but it also feels like I'm being spoon-fed information that is not news to me.
Yeah, it's like why it's like, oh, see white people, this is what it's like, and then you're just like you're strangely alienating your black audience, because it's like, yeah, we know already.
Because, like,
you don't have to like dumb it down, like, we get it.
And, like, on one hand, like, it's not like, I can see people, like, still liking the show or whatever. It's not a crime to. It's just like, I didn't need it. Because it was kind of, I even had like the same problem with like Fresh Off the Boat. I started off really liking it, but then the more I read about like the actual guy's story and how much they like whitewashed his own story, that he won't even have anything to do with it anymore, I was like, so they're doing this to everybody. They're just not.
Like, oh, you just hate people of color in TV. Gotcha.
Like, it's so weird. I don't know. It's just weird that, like, ethnic stories need to be, like, filtered to be palatable to white audience. Meanwhile,
I mean,
still.
like, it's weird.
It's kind of like I don't know. necessary. It's not necessary. I don't know what the word is, but like
In order for it to like get on the air, you kind of have to pander to white people. So they're like,
that,
this
and
is excellent programming.
I feel like it's. I mean, I guess they should have made clear what their purpose was, Blackish specifically. Because if their purpose was to educate white people through the lens of someone who's not white, then that would have been a great. Then it wouldn't be like you were alienating your like half of your audience, minority audience, by spoon feeding the information to the people that you need to spoon feed it to, the white people, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess, like, if that wasn't clear from the beginning, then it could feel like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I get what you're saying. I guess it's more like, and I do get, like, the utility in, like, teaching white people things. At the same time, I'm just coming at it from the point, like, I've watched so many shows about white people, and they didn't explain anything to me about why.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
That's fair.
no show ever was like, white people do this, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I get it.
Because white people just get to be people on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. White people just get to be characters. Black folks on TV have to be black characters.
Yes.
So it's like, so that's where I stand on, like, most of the issues. But, like, my problems with Grownish, on one hand, it's like they do tackle a lot of race on the show because it's, like, about, like, a lot of, like, woke black college students.
Is the college in that show historically black college, or is it just like a school?
I think it's fictionally historically black, but I don't remember. Okay. I think it's supposed to be maybe because, like, there are people of other colors in the school. I don't remember. I think she just goes to some white school. Because I think if I remember Junior from Blackish, I think he goes on to go to the historically black school. I don't know. I don't really know that much. I shouldn't commit to that. But
wasn't there an episode of Grownish where it was like a space on campus that was for like specifically for black students, and then like a white student showed up and was like, well, since I'm paying tuition, I can sit wherever I want, and then they were trying to explain like, yeah, you can, but this is a space for us.
I think I remember. I don't think the whole school is, but I think like there's this dorm that is historic, like it's always been the black dorm,
like a caucus of black
like
students.
That. Yeah. And like there were episodes like that were like interesting. Like they did like a cultural approach, but anyway, forget. We could do a whole thing on Grownish. I have lots to say
We'll
about
get into the Ish series another day.
Yeah.
Mark that off on your bingo boards. Haven't brought that back in a minute. Discussing future episodes.
Why?
It's happened at least 3 times already.
Yeah.
Why I brought up Grownish, however, was because of the character Nomi. She is bisexual, and sometimes I do feel like her bisexuality is kind of all she has going on. Mm-hmm. But also, I also think like it's so weird. I feel like when like a show devolved, and I don't think they knew what they wanted to do with her anymore. But like she just was bisexual, and I thought it was interesting because they had this episode where she was dating a guy who was bisexual, and then she realized. Because, like, she was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm finally with someone who gets it. But then she dates a guy who's, once she's dating him more, she realizes that, like, why she's not cool with him being bi. And she doesn't know why. And she doesn't further interrogate that. So I like that I'm complimenting that this happened and that I'm complaining about it. But
Yeah.
I was like, they did.
So did the show address like this is internalized biphobia?
What?
Or were they just like, yeah, bi men are just like overcompensating for something or like some stupid nonsense?
He told her, so you're biphobic and like you suck for this, like you understand that, right? And she was just like, no, I get it. It's on me, but I'm just not cool with you also being in with guys and girls. And I was like,
Girly pop, then go away.
and it was so,
This is so stupid.
it was so weird. Because at first I was thinking, like, because, like, they were bonding over all the times that people, like, their partners just didn't get them being bi and stuff. And then she was just, like, I don't remember the episode that well. I could rewatch it if I cared, but, like, I feel like part of it was just, like, this whole thing, this is something that I don't get. And, like, this hasn't been a problem in my marriage, even though I've basically attracted to, like, literally anybody.
Yeah.
But, like,
Anybody and everybody.
you know, but, like, it was just, like, this thing, like, well, you're bi, so everyone's competition. But, like, no.
Yeah.
That's just not
like
how
for
that works.
yeah, not to say that like I'm the standard or I'm like what every like bisexual relationship is like, but like both my boyfriend and I are bisexual, and never once has it been like a side eye thing where it's like we make jokes about like, oh, you and the boys are like just doing doing gay shit behind my back, but like that's a joke. That's a joke. Half the time it's like, hey, you think SZA's sexy too, right? Yeah, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And
See,
it's
that's
also
like
this like
relationship goals, because like I've experienced like, oh, when I'm not being told that I'm more attracted to girls, I will comment that a girl is attractive, and they'll be like, "Oh, I have insecurities."
Oh,
and
man.
yeah.
I'm
How
like,
dare
sorry,
you
you're
talk
grown.
about
You need to
girls?
go.
I'm like,
over
I
that.
thought we could bond over finding a girl attractive.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Sorry.
sweet. Got it. Like, oh man. Like, again, it's, I keep bringing up this one question, but like, it's this assumption from like straight people that, and also from like people within the queer community that like, if you're bi, you're just like slutty or just like constantly seeking out like
I've
threesomes
never
or like
understood
more
that.
people.
Like before I had my own realization about my own sexuality, I've never understood the like you're attracted to
More than
potentially
one gender.
more people, I guess. Why does that mean you're attracted to everyone? Like,
Or like, why does that mean I want
like-
to have sex with everybody I
Exactly.
see immediately?
sexually attracted, I guess. Yeah, like I don't know if that's coming from a place. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know if that's coming from just like a generally queer place where like I am attracted to more than one gender. So like why that doesn't make sense to me, or if it's like a demisexual thing where I'm like, I don't get it because I have to get to know a person first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't tell.
Like, cause some people are slutty, and that's totally cool. Like, you can just be have as much sex as you want.
Yeah.
And
Where's that one girl? I'm a slut, you're a slut, your mom's a slut, that cameraman's a slut.
But
I love her.
Yeah.
I love her.
But I think that there's like, I think the problem with like, you know, like people are like, oh, she's a slut or she's a prude, and I think nobody is really like that. Doesn't define. Those two labels should never define anybody. But I guess if I have to, I guess I'm somewhere more on the spectrum on the other side because I prioritize hand holding over canoodling.
Yeah.
And so, like, but I don't want to hold everybody's hand. I just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only got two hands.
yeah. So, like, I don't know.
One for my husband and one for Jesus.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it is weird because, like, on one hand, I think it comes from a place of just general insecurity. Like, you feel threatened. And, like, people
Yeah.
who are threatened by someone who's bisexual are just as threatened by good-looking people of the same sex anyway. So I don't think, it's not so much that, like, be kind to your partners who are insecure about your bisexuality. Like, you know, like, if you want, just screw them, because, like, who cares? Like, well, I guess not in this case, screw them, but,
Yeah.
like, forget them, actually,
Yeah.
not the censored. Anyway, the point is, if they're insecure, you can like talk to them about it and like work through it, and like, you know, like it's not good to be insecure, because I'm insecure about lots of stuff. I just not particularly about someone's sexual orientation, because like, who cares? But that's my advice. Just like, you can talk to them about their insecurity, or you can just
unpack why you're insecure.
yeah. And like maybe introspection, or you could just be like, you know, you've got some stuff to work out, but I'm fine being bi. Goodbye.
Yeah. I think like while we're also talking about like negative stereotypes of being bi, in general, it's just not really taken seriously by like, again, both the queer community and by straight people, because it's like, oh, like you're like confused, or it's like you're just going through a phase, or you're like really promiscuous and like just going through like this blah blah blah. I'm like, well, but what do you think the B stands for in LGBT? Bees? Boobs?
Yeah, I think
Boobs.
that, yeah, and that's kind of a good segue into like the double standards for bisexual men and women. And like, this is something we talk about a little bit. Like, in general, everyone gets why someone would find a woman attractive. Like, not everyone understands why you'd want to marry someone of the same sex, but everybody's like, oh yeah, women are beautiful, so it makes sense to want women. But then, like, but who would ever want a penis? Or who would ever want anything to do with men? Says married straight women all the time for some reason.
I'm like, girl, just say you hate your husband, get a divorce, and find a girlfriend.
I don't know if this happens.
You'll be fine.
I don't know if this happens at your work, but at my last job, anytime, like, I remember there was this one woman, she was like married and straight, and I was like, oh my god, are you like the poster woman for the Are the Straights Okay? Because like you two do not, because she was like, yeah, he just likes to get on my case for every little thing. And sometimes I'm just like, ugh. And I'm just like,
I think you need couples therapy.
Husband. He's fine. Like, what? I was like, but anyway, yeah, I think it's also weird too, because like I've heard lots of people say like, oh, he might say he's bi, but he's gay. Like, you know, you can't touch a penis and like still like
and
women
still be into women. Like, ugh.
I mean, so that's something interesting that I was thinking about earlier but didn't bring up. I think that there's more representation of bi women in media than bi men.
Yeah.
Sure, like, not necessarily queer men. There's plenty of gay characters, but it's like they're straight or they're gay. I can't think of a single like bi character in media off the top of my head.
The man that sings the bisexual song in whatever show that was.
That explains nothing to me.
It's the song that he performs is called Gettin' By. I literally don't know what show that's
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, yes.
Okay.
He was a beautiful bisexual man. I'm so glad you reminded me of him, because the only other example I could bring up was Miles from Degrassi. And Miles from Degrassi, a lot of people like him because he just was bi and like it really wasn't a big deal. Like, he ends up falling in madly in love with this guy, and they're on again, off again, but he also dates like lots of girls in between. But like, he's just bi. Like, nobody ever questions his sexuality. At the same time, he's white and rich, so like, I wonder if that has something to do with it.
I think some of the reasoning as to why like men in media can only be straight or gay is because in general bisexual men are constantly having their masculinity questioned, because it's like you're a straight dude in a show. Okay, you're a straight dude. Obviously, you're like a man. You're gay. Like, you know, the straight white lady writers in the writing room can have like a fun time, like making funny gay jokes, and like, you know, that's okay. Or you get really nuanced gay characters, and it's like, that's great. But nobody is like wanting to take the time into like portraying an accurate like bisexual man who is comfortable with his identity and knows who he is and loves who he is. Like, with bisexual women, like, the idea is like, oh, you're promiscuous, and like, it's like fun and sexy because like queer women are hot and sexy and we like to fetishize them. But then with like bisexual men, it's like, I don't know, something about this just like doesn't rub me the right way. Like,
Yeah,
I hear this so much, like, from like people who I deeply care about. They're like, like, it's like really sus if like a guy says he's bi. Like, I feel like he's just gay but can't commit. I'm like, what the hell?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Like, can't commit to what?
Yeah, exactly. And like,
and then it's like a gotcha moment when it's like, oh, see, he's in a relationship with a man. Like, I knew it. Like, no, he's being himself.
That's really the only other reason I can think, like, why it's more popular to portray bi women in media. It's because it's, like, more...
It's the male gaze.
Yeah, it's, like, almost more acceptable because of the male gaze. Because it's like, oh, that's hot. It's hot to see girls kiss. It's just... It makes me uncomfortable to see guys kiss.
Yeah, I don't want to see guys being, like, intimate with each other.
But, like... I don't know. But then there's plenty of gay characters, and I feel like that's almost like... We're trying really hard to accept this part of this other part of masculinity. But also maybe because they don't know how to portray a bi male character, because despite their best efforts, a lot of mainstream media still portrays all gay men as very effeminate when that's just not an accurate representation. So maybe they're like, well, but they like men, but they also like women,
but how we can't make Drag Race references with this.
Yeah, I think...
We can't sashay into a deal in this economy.
Like, I feel like when it comes to, like, bisexual men or whatever, or just bi characters, I feel like the general public feels like you're not bi unless you're always in a throuple.
Yeah,
or like, if... Yeah, I don't know. Like, if
you're not bi if you're not having an identity crisis at the same time.
If you're seen in a straight relationship and you don't ever make comments about the same gender, then you're not bi. Mm-hmm. If I can't see it, then it's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think it's... Yeah, no, I was actually, it's funny, I was talking to my friend just the other day about, like, how I have no idea how I made it so far through life, not realizing I was at least a little bi, because I don't know if anybody here remembers the movie Clock Stoppers, but...
Yes? Oh my god.
When he takes her on, like, that date... I remembered, like, not thinking, like, oh man, that would be such a fun date to go on. I just wanted to take her on that date.
Like, that exact same date with her.
With her, keep her. She was great. She needed to be there.
She was perfect.
Just, he can go away and I'll be him. But anyway. It was a very fun date, stopping time and pranking people while Blink-182 plays in the background.
It's every 2000s kid's dream.
Yeah, honestly, Clockstoppers really was just the 2000s movie for me. Okay. Well, to wrap up, this has been a nice little bisexual enchilada. I was trying to make
we got one more question.
Yeah. If you could go back to your younger self, what would you say?
Nothing is wrong with you. You don't have to hide this part of you, and you don't need to question this part of you. This is okay. and this is completely valid, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, and don't let anybody make you feel uncomfortable because of it.
Well,
I would say, I think you're going to figure yourself out someday. If I tell you right now, it won't make any sense to you.
This makes no sense now, but it will one day.
It'll still be hard. It'll get better once you figure yourself out, but it'll still be hard because there's always going to be someone that doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you understand yourself, that's all that matters.
lovely. I think I would tell myself, you are a little gaybo, but that's okay. Kiss people, maybe. Don't be super trusting. But, like, you got to where you're gonna get to a place that you like because of how trusting you are. So, like, go get 'em, kiddo.
Yeah. You got this.
You'll get it. Okay, so on that note, thank you guys so much for listening. I think we all learned a lot about ourselves and each other. And remember to listen to this wherever podcasts are. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends. Okay, bye.
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 Bye.